I would like to thank political nerds, that delicious young lass, which is half English, half Italian, for this time she dealt with. This thing occurred in Bradford in the month of this year, March. A teenager was offered a lift by a Nigerian chap, student, and she didn't know the taxi which he took with this bloke. He was quite polite, meant to go to his house. It was a trap. And practically he lured her into his apartment. And it all started on a taxi where he begins touching her up and groping and stuff like that. And when it came to his dwellings and apartment in Bradford, he locked her in the bog. And she was sexually assaulted by this chap 3 times. I don't want to be graphic in the contents. She really had a horrifying experience. And the most absolutely disgusting thing is, she'll carry these psychological damages inside her for the rest of her life. This tosspot was sentenced for 13 years. The problem is, when he comes out 13 years or doesn't do all of his time for good behaviour, he will appeal under the European Court of Human Rights to stay in the United Kingdom, which, you come from Nigeria, you're not part of the EEC or Europe, you can't appeal against it because their jurisdiction does not extend in other parts of the world. It's called the European Court of Human Rights, and it's an abuse, which the lefties and judges use. And this, I don't know, there were other cases of him being a predator. And in Bradford, they did discover another grooming gang which has operated in the year 2000, 2009, not recently. Here, the question, illegals, whatever, who the fuck they are, full stop. Society don't need them. They don't apparently are running away from any war-torn country which they profess, or they're political prisoners, or they're considered dissidents in their countries. This is the bad part of so-called immigration. This is illegal immigration. Once upon a time, those who came from overseas in the UK, there were a few, they were selected. And they came parts of from the Commonwealth, for example. We didn't have not even much of the shit we have today with these people today. They're very polite, civilised people at that time. I think it's all a question where these people come from. They are savages and uncivilised, practically. And this gives a bad name to those who are legal in that country, who do not cause any problems. They contribute to the community and they integrate. That's how immigration should be. But, you know, lefty socialists, bunch of pussies, cocksuckers, and get it up the backside, or exit holes. They love it. Get there. They should let the whole fucking third world into the country at the taxpayer's expense, and you don't know who the fucking they are and what type of background they come from, because you check any Western country in Europe, the crime rates and who commits it, who's in prison, you can believe your booties, they're not locals who committed. These are imported criminals, grooming gangs, thieves, and what other scumbags they are, which, like I said, gives a bad name to those who honestly come over to seek a better way of life. And I shall repeat, they contribute, they integrate, and they don't bother no one. Why should we import parasites which all day long loiter around and they don't even appreciate the country who they host, and they can think they can do what the fucking hell they like? I think in part the blame is their ignorance. In part, it's the lefties who incite them, which, as well as these illegals, and even them, they should be deported. If you like to stay with them, sling your hook, mate. They send them packing with all these scumbags and these wakey dodos as well, where they came from, a nice big island. Create your own fucking society. Because this type of ideology, or whatever it is, it's a cancer. And the problem is, when a cancer's spreaded, you can't operate. The damage is done. The society's damaged. It's ruined. And it's a bit like a photocopy of a third world country going in another country, basically. Absolutely lunacy. Like I said, we're living in a society of idiocracy. Have you seen the film? Which everyone is so thick and dumb. And I tell you, most of the population, for this type of propaganda ideology, they're dumbing people down, making you feel guilty for the thing which you're not guilty of. You have to accept the wrongdoers because they are victims of so-called errors of the past. We should pay reparation and all that stuff. Load of bullshit. Fuck off.